Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our CCAPS Faculty Development Day. I'm Ritu Saksena. I'm the Associate Dean for Graduate Education at CCAPS, and we're so glad to see you joining us this morning and taking time out of a busy day. We realize there is a lot to share. We keep thinking we are past the pandemic, but clearly things continue to be uncertain, and we realize there is a lot to share as you begin to prepare for the fall semester. Michelle Koker and I will be talking about a few things this morning, sharing some insights and looking forward to a very thoughtful conversation. We have a lot of very good sessions lined up, some fascinating conversations we expect to see this morning, and looking forward to your participation in all of that. And thank you so much for your commitment to our students. We realize you're taking time out of a busy day to be here this morning, and as you prepare and plan for the fall semester, we hope to share some of these things with you. And we hope you'll bookmark some of the websites we share today, because there are things that continue to change on a regular basis, and these sites are updated and regularly maintained. So as you have questions, it'll be easy to go back and refer to these sites. So some of the conversations we want to have this morning are around the key takeaways preparing for the fall semester, things you should have in mind as you start to put things together, how you access, if you're new to teaching, how you access classrooms, building hours, access to classrooms after hours, information around that. The elephant in the room, navigating academic issues in the classroom, and how we, tips and suggestions and best practices, all of that around that, and then additional resources as questions come up. We can share all that we want to right now, but we recognize things change and shift, and you might have questions, so we hope those additional resources will be helpful as well. Prior to the start of the semester, so first things first, prioritizing safety. We recognize the university COVID-19 updates. This is something we're all worried about, always worried about, don't know if things are going to change, hoping for the best, hoping this is another smooth fall semester. But just in case if there are questions, there is the university website on COVID-19 is frequently updated. In fact, there was a communication that went out yesterday from the campus public health officer with the latest guidelines, including the quarantine and isolation updates. The CDC, I believe, has a calculator that is being currently updated, but pointing to all of those sites. Being prepared, university guidance on student positive cases. We hope this is something you don't have to deal with in your class, but things can come up and things change. So just to be prepared on there are all these questions of what I can do in my classroom, what I should share, who I should contact, what should I advise a student to do? All of those questions are on this website. The vaccine requirement for students. Students are required to be vaccinated and have to show proof of vaccines. A question that comes up repeatedly. That is a requirement of all students. There is an exemption for specific reasons, but there is a vaccine mandate in place for students. And then the isolation and quarantine guidelines. As I mentioned, there's also a vaccine requirement for all employees. If you are continuing, if you've been teaching with us before and are continuing at the university, you would likely have already done this. If you're new to the university, you are required to provide proof of vaccination. And then there's additional information on the website on workplace guidance for employees. The expectations, the requirements, any additional questions you might have around how to navigate some of those issues. So we recognize that some of you are new to the university and hope all of these websites will be useful. And these slides will be made available on the Canvas resource site. So you can always go back and refer to all of these. I would strongly recommend bookmarking some of these websites. You don't know when you need to go back and refer to them, so it might be useful to have that as well. The other question the other topic we want to bring up is building hours and access. You will need a U card for access to buildings if the building is locked after hours. There are public hours for most buildings on campus. If you are teaching in the evenings, teaching on weekends, you might need a U card. We wanted to make sure you have a U card before the first day of class. Things get really busy then. So there is a process to get a U card at the University of Minnesota. The link in here shows you where to go and how to go about doing that. And I think it'll be a good idea to be prepared just in case. Classroom should be open and during business hours. We're teaching during the day, that should not be an issue. But if you are teaching in the evenings or weekends, that might be a concern. And Michelle, I guess I'll hand it off to you at this point.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle Koker. I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education. I have met most of you, but some of you are new, and so it's wonderful to see you here today. I'm glad you could join us. I was going to back up just 1 second and just mention for those of you who are new, a U card is a university identification card. So in case you're wondering what the heck a U card is, it's an ID card. Students have them, staff, faculty. You're eligible for them as an employee of the university. So moving on, navigating academic issues. This is really important. Obviously, some of the biggest challenges you might encounter in your classrooms have to do with, and I hope you don't have to deal with this, but you might encounter some disruptive behavior from students in your classes. And so there are some links on this page that will help you with that. I'll start though with the first point, which is use of the gradebook and basic rubrics in Canvas is recommended. I think most of you do this already, but that's just a reminder. That's best practice. So please be sure to do that. If you need help with how to do that, your instructional designer who you've been working with in the past on your course should be able to help you with that. Secondly, refer to the university policy for makeup work for legitimate absences. Please familiarize yourself with this if you're not already familiar with it. It's a really important policy, and chances are you'll probably have to employ this particular policy during the semester. There are obviously legitimate absences defined through the policy and how faculty should handle those for students. Next, recommended strategies to address disruptive conduct. As I mentioned prior, there is a really helpful website, and we give a link to it there. The Office for Community Standards gives you some tips. They also offer consultations. So if you are having an ongoing issue with one or more students in your class who are being disruptive or who are causing distractions on an ongoing basis, you can always consult with staff from the Office for Community Standards. There are also some good resources from the Center for Educational Innovation on that page too. Next, we have a COVID-19 academic planning FAQ document, really, really helpful for faculty. You'll find probably answers to most of your questions about how to conduct your classroom in this COVID era. If you don't find it there, they oftentimes have suggestions for where else to look for information. And then finally on this slide, if you find you need to temporarily modify your course, meaning that if you or someone in your household is ill and you need to modify your course modality, meaning that say you're in the classroom and you need to transition temporarily to a virtual environment, please let myself know if you're an undergraduate instructor. If you are a graduate instructor, please contact Michelle Iwin. And obviously, if it's something that needs to happen on a temporary basis, you don't need to contact us if it's going to be less than a week, a week's period. If it's going to be more than that, we really do need to perhaps make some alternate plans. And so you please contact us if that's going to be the case, if it's going to extend beyond a 5-day period. Okay, Ritu, next slide, please. Whoop. There we go. So where to find more information? There are additional resources, and I know Ritu mentioned this. I'll just reiterate that all of these links will be available to you in the Canvas website for Faculty Development Day after this day is done. So don't feel like, you know, why aren't we clicking on these links? I'm not going to be able to find them again. You will be able to go back and at your leisure, click through these links. For CCAPS faculty questions, our academic and technology design unit has some really fantastic resources for faculty. Please avail yourself of those resources. It's an exceptional page and can answer a lot of questions that you might have. For additional information around instruction scenarios and guidelines, the Center for Educational Innovation also has a really great site. And actually Mary Jetter, who is our keynote speaker, is from the Center for Educational Innovation. Finally, for further questions, please see the Safe Campus website. So there's some additional information and some additional resources about, again, being an instructor at the university in this pandemic era. There are obviously a lot of questions that pop up because of related to the pandemic and even peripherally related to the pandemic, but a lot of them are answered. The university has done a good job trying to proactively address concerns that are common to faculty. So those are all the links that we have for you today. So hopefully that information will prove to be quite useful to you. And again, you can go back at any time throughout the semester and access these links as well. So don't feel like it's a one and done. You can always come back and go over again any information that you might need to.